Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Let's Chat Reality. I'm Michael,
And I'm Molly.
and we are here today to talk episode 11 of Survivor 49, as well as the long awaited recap of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives Season 3. We were going to do it a few weeks ago, and then we decided when the reunion date got announced, let's wait till the reunion comes up just in case there's any new information. Spoiler alert, really didn't get much from that, but we're here today to cover the whole season plus the reunion. But first, before we do that, let's start with Survivor, shall we, Molly?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So after last night's tribal, Rizzo reveals that the intention behind the fake idol move, which we talked last week, trying to figure out why did he do this? What could his motives have been to play this fake idol?
Mhm.
He says that it was in order to get Christina to play hers, but then Christina beat him to it. So he still just kind of did it for a fun moment to kind of brag in front of the jury and play since everyone knows he has a real idol. But this was a little confusing to me because I I don't understand how this would get Christina to play hers because if he were to go up there and say, "Hey Jeff, here's an idol," then Jeff is going to reveal whether it's fake or not before Christina would have gotten a chance to play hers or not. So I'm not sure I still quite understand it. But can you make any sense of that?
No, I agree with you. I feel like it didn't really make sense, his explanation. I mean, maybe he was trying to come up with another reason other than he just wanted to have some fun. Like, I don't know. It doesn't really track in my mind because it's just like, as you said, like Jeff would say that it was fake.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is maybe he thought like Christina would then be forced to I'm not even forced, but just like decide to play it, like just hand it to Jeff at the same time as Rizzo does. I mean, we've seen that before, I guess, a couple times where it's just like two people kind of go up there at the same time, but she wouldn't have to do that. So like it would be a very, very I guess not even risky because like he's not really risking anything, but like it wouldn't. Like, it feels like a high likelihood that it wouldn't work.
Yeah, I don't know why. I want to know more of like an explanation better than what we're getting so far because it still doesn't really make sense to me either.
And Rizzo did say, I think he alluded to the fact that like once the season's over, he'll go a little bit more into detail about what his thought process was on that. So I'm looking forward to hearing it because what we heard in this episode didn't quite track to me as making much sense, but I could also see a world where he has a much kind of longer explanation of his thought process where it's like, "Oh, okay, now I get it." So we'll see. We
Yeah,
will
I
we will
want to
stay
hear
tuned.
that. Yes.
Well, Yellow Sophie explains the reason she decided to vote with Savannah, Rizzo, and Soph is because Christina and Steven never really let her in on their full plans. And they just kind of assumed that she would always vote with them because of their Hina connection. So it really and I got the sense before she said it that it really felt like she just wasn't appreciated on the other side, whereas she felt like she was an actual part of this other side with Soph, Rizzo, and Savannah. And I feel that I got that vibe as well. And I understand why she felt that way. I know a lot of people have said this like since this last episode where it's like, oh, Sophie ruined her game the moment that she went with the other side. I still don't feel that way, even knowing the results of this week's episode. I still feel like I don't think that was her mistake, was going with that side. I think that she made other mistakes along the way that led to her demise. But I don't think that this decision was necessarily one of them because I think if she had gone on this side, she was going to be on the bottom kind of no matter what. Like, it wasn't like going with the other side was going to be this great move either. I think that there were other things that if she had maybe done differently that we can get into, that it wouldn't have necessarily led to the outcome that we did get. But to me, going with this side still was the right move.
Yeah, I agree. I think that she just felt more trust in Savannah Rizzo and Soph is also what she was explaining with her just not really knowing the full plan from other Hina people that she felt on the bottom there. That I think that was smart of her to make that move and try to become in a different alliance necessarily and like go with people who she trusts. And obviously things can change all the time in Survivor that you don't have to stick with your original people that you come into the game with. So I think it made sense, and I also don't think it was the reason for her going home.
Yeah, because like by the time she voted last week, she knew that Savannah had an extra vote. So she knew that
Mhm.
like technically she was going on a side with the same number of votes as like if need be, both
Mhm.
sides had the same number of votes that they could use. And so it felt like okay, you're going with first of all a smaller side, you're going with now a foursome, and all you need on Survivor is a foursome because at the final four there's no more votes, so
Yeah.
it is completely your fate is in your hands, and that's I think a better move than going with what would be a five somewhere. If you're on the bottom you're screwed. Like you would have to really be pretty confident that you have a good chance of winning individual immunity that week because she would know she's on the bottom over there, whereas being on the bottom of a foursome doesn't matter really. So yeah, I think it's a very understandable move, and we'll get into though what other mistakes potentially she made that led to her downfall here.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, speaking of Yellow Sophie, she also tries to do damage control with Sage after the last vote because we know from really we were introduced last week's episode to Sophie's close connection with Sage, and Sage was really the one giving Yellow Sophie a lot of the information that she then ran back to the other side. And Sage was felt pretty blindsided by Sophie after the last vote, and she was very upset about it. She said she felt humiliated, and that Rizzo made this whole spectacle of it, and that Sophie was smiling the whole time, and Sage felt really hurt. So, what do you think about how Sage is handling this situation? Do you understand why she's hurt here? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I get it. I feel like, especially in this part of the game, like you feel like you have these true loyalties to some people, and then when they backstab you, you're like, oh no, like this isn't good. Like now I can't trust you. So Sage was just feeling like that happened to her because she was already feeling like she was on the bottom now with having Jawan just had left the week before. So I think with that, like having her closest ally just gone, like she was already in a vulnerable spot from that, and then now especially now with Sophie doing what she did, then like that even stung even more
Mhm.
to Sage. So I think it seems right for Sage's reaction here. Like I understand the situation and like it didn't seem like an overreaction to me and it seemed like Sage was reading it right because I mean in a way like Sophie does want to work more with Savannah and Rizzo so I think that she's right for what she was saying.
Yeah, this to me was the first of, or maybe not where it started, but one of Sophie's mistakes here was the way
Mhm.
that she handled this conversation, where I think she got kind of defensive about it. She really was trying to explain and feel justified, and I think that Sage would have responded a whole lot better to Sophie just being like, look, I'm really sorry. Like I think that she just needed to show more emotion about it, and that look, I really care about your friendship. I really care about you in this game. I just looking at it logically, I felt like I had to make this move, but I really hope that you'll understand it and that we can still have a relationship in this game and that our interests are still aligned. Like, I think that there are things that she could have said to Sage that, look, Sage probably would have still not fully trusted Sophie after this. Like, I don't think she could have said anything to her that would just like make it all go away. But I think that she could have said something to her that would lessen the feeling of revenge that Sage wanted. And because Sage has such a desire to get out Savannah. And I think that Sophie could have put herself underneath Savannah still. Like she could have done something to make herself not Sage's number one target this week to where she was even willing to work with Savannah to make that happen. Like, I just think that that Sophie tried to kind of use too much like logic. And I know that doesn't sound good, like, but I think that she was thinking too like almost like defensively, analytically at it, and not just like trying to really level with Sage to feel her like emotions. And that's what Sage needed in that moment.
Yeah, for sure. She was just too strategic, I guess, in that way of like more gameplay versus
Yeah.
emotional. And that's what made Sage not trust her even more.
Yeah, exactly. Well, then we get to Blue Soph talking to Sage. So she tells her that she knows she needs to turn on Savannah if she wants to win the game. So, we've been kind of talking for the last few weeks, like, it, is Blue Soph going to ever turn on Savannah and Rizzo? Or is she thinking just final three with them all the way? But will she ever make that move to turn on them? And we finally get here, Soph saying, yeah, I'm willing to do it. I know I need to do that in order to have a move that will potentially make me eligible to win the game. Because right now, in the merge section of the game, which is really all that matters to the jury, she hasn't really done much of anything. So Sage doesn't believe her when she says this. She thinks that her true loyalties still lie with Savannah and Rizzo. But Molly, do you believe her? Do you think that Blue Soph is willing to ever turn on Savannah and Rizzo?
Yeah, I I don't know. When I saw this conversation, I was like, okay, this is definitely too early for her to do it here, but it's interesting to hear her talking about it for the future of like, okay, like this could happen. Like, I mean, maybe they're like trying to give us a foreshadowing for this to be maybe Sophie's gonna use her knowledge as power on Rizzo's idol, and like that's gonna be a big gameplay that we'll see happen, but it hasn't happened yet. But like that's what I'm like thinking that could be what could happen here, because I think it would be a good gameplay move for her for sure, and showing that, well, like she has to do something. Like at this point, like there has to be some big move that she plays to be able to win at the end. And so in this point in the game, like she's gonna have to turn on someone. Like it's pretty impossible at this rate, like for her to not. I mean, she could stay with them until final three, and like that could be great too. But I feel like if she knows that she's sitting next to one of them, like she would lose, that she would make a move before she would get there.
Yeah, I think she has to. Like, she has to use her knowledge as power on Rizzo's idol. I don't see another way for her to make a move that is impressive enough for the jury to feel like she is worthy of the sole survivor. I can't think of anything else that she could do at this point because it's so late in the game. Like, there's 2 episodes left at this point. We're at final 6. Like, that is the only move that I think that I see where she does that, and it is her moment at tribal, and nobody knows she has this. Like, it would be the perfect, incredible move. And so I really, really hope that we get that probably next week. I think his knowledge is power. I think this might be the last week for it. I believe it
Oh
expires
yeah,
at 6.
that is true.
So if that is the case, we have one more chance for her
Let's
to do
see.
that, and I really, really hope we get it. I mean, imagine
That would be
that would
amazing.
be an incredible,
I
incredible
mean, I
outcome.
love Savannah and Rizzo, but like I love
I
Sophie more.
know, I know, and I would hate for it to be the getting. I would think that I think the move here. Well, is it to get Rizzo or Savannah? If Sophie use or Soph, excuse me, if Soph uses her knowledge as power and takes Rizzo's idol, do you get out Rizzo or do you get out Savannah?
I don't know. That's tricky because I mean they work so closely together that I mean, but with Rizzo having his idol still like in his pocket, he hasn't had to use it. I feel like that's more of a stronger case maybe than Savannah has because she never had that power that she could have used or didn't use. You know, like Rizzo had it and hasn't had to use it, which is impressive. So I think maybe it would be getting out Rizzo would be a bigger move.
I actually think getting out Savannah is maybe the better move,
Mhm.
only because Savannah has proven herself to be more dangerous at immunity challenges
Oh
so
yeah,
far. And so I think you get out Savannah, who it seems like the jury feels is the bigger threat and has proven herself to be very, very dangerous with challenges. So I think then there's a better chance that Rizzo doesn't win individual immunity the next week, and then you can get him out then. That would be
yeah.
my thought, but I don't think it would be a bad move. Like I think if she used it and got out Rizzo, I think it's still a very, very good move if she can then make it to final three from there.
Yeah, I was forgetting about the individual immunity part of it. That she still Savannah could win that, and obviously
Yeah.
Savannah's a big threat in that. So yeah, that makes sense too. I mean, both of them, but I think Savannah definitely.
Yeah. Well, then we get a boat pulling up, and it brings a note saying that somebody has to go on a strenuous journey. So, most of them want to save their energy for the immunity challenge coming up, but Steven eventually volunteers for this, which I thought was crazy that they let Steven go on this. Like, I get it, it's strenuous. I get it. I don't think I would want to do it either because you want to save your little energy you have for the immunity challenge, of course.
Hmm.
But I think that you just have to, like, if Steven is somebody who you feel like is a very easy vote and that's somebody who you want to make sure doesn't get some sort of secret advantage, I think you just have to go and, like, even if you just literally you go and you sit there and you don't do anything and then maybe you lose your vote, but like if you but then at least you know that nobody else has another secret advantage out there that, a person who you want to potentially vote for. I don't know.
Yeah, but then they were saying that this would maybe tire him out, and then he wouldn't win the individual
That's
immunity
true.
to be safe. So like it goes both ways on that way too. Like I mean, but the advantage that you could win could be stronger than just having immunity. So I don't know. Like it's interesting that
Mhm.
he did go on this and that everyone else was nervous that he went on it.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, that's true. It could tire him out, but then yeah, like I think that Rizzo was probably right to think that it was something to the effect of a steal a vote.
Yeah.
Like that is usually around this time you get something similar to that, which, like, yes, in this case it was not a steal a vote technically, but it was kind of close enough for government work to like assume that it's something like that. And yeah, like, is that, potential of him having that worth, lessening his likelihood that he wins immunity? I don't know. I guess I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, Steven seems like he has great endurance. If he was able to run all around that and win it, and then obviously, then spoiler alert, we'll talk about it in a second. But he also does win the individual immunity, so like that's also impressive that it didn't really get what they were getting at if they wanted him to not have energy.
Yeah. Yes. Very, very impressive. But yes, so he does go on this journey. He has to run around the island and remember a number combination. And it turns out it was the same number combination that they had in Survivor 45.
Well,
That I believe Jake won that with that code. So, Survivor has a tendency to repeat their puzzles eventually, repeat the codes that they have. So, future survivors, pay attention to those things. Remember the last few seasons, if there's a number, a phrase, something, it might be repeated. So, I think that's a good lesson to try to do that if you're going on the show soon. But he does get a block a vote advantage, like we said. And he does tell his tribe that he won an advantage, which I thought was very interesting, but he does not say what it was. So that was kind of hoping to instill fear in them, wondering what he might have. Do you think that this was the right move?
I think so. I mean, it was interesting that he didn't explain what it was, but at least he didn't lie and say he didn't have something. Um, because then people would probably speculate that he did get it and he was lying to them. So at least he was sharing that he won. But I don't know. It's interesting that he like didn't have to share. Like people just like weren't prying. Like I would have been like kept on asking until he would share. Like he just said he won, and like what is it? Like now it just makes everyone else question it. When Rizzo also kind of got it right in a way, but like in general, like it's weird that he didn't want to explain exactly what, but he did say he got the advantage.
Yeah, the more I think about it, I think that this was probably the best thing he could have done because, like you said, it's not lying to anybody. So he can, with a straight face say, very openly and honestly everything that he did. He doesn't have to worry about like keeping his story straight and telling people the same thing, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's being fully honest. He's just withholding some information. And I do think that it worked perfectly because
Yeah.
Rizzo thinks that he has something more powerful than he has. And so he is going to play it safer, whereas Steven actually doesn't have something quite as powerful as they assume and think that he does. So I actually think that this worked out absolutely perfectly for Steven.
Yeah, agreed.
But back at camp, Blue Soph, Yellow Sophie, and yes, okay, sorry. Blue Soph, Yellow Sophie, and Savannah agree that Steven should be their first choice of target as long as he doesn't win immunity here. So if he does, Soph and Sophie agree that it is time to turn on Savannah and Rizzo. So they think Savannah is the more dangerous of the two, so they should take her out first. But what do you think? Do you think that Savannah is more dangerous in a final three scenario than Rizzo is?
Yeah, I feel like with Savannah just having so many immunity wins and just those abilities that Rizzo doesn't really have, I think it is showing. I mean, obviously, we don't want to just base it off of like physical, and like the strategy is also really important. And Rizzo has a lot of that, and having the idol still in his pocket that he hasn't had to use like is a really good gameplay for him in the way that he's played this game throughout the season so far. So I feel like they both have a good shot at this, but I think at this point, like if they want to be able to win an immunity, they have to get out Savannah.
Yeah, I think that where Savannah is really more dangerous. I think that Rizzo kind of comes across to the jury as like a little kid who's just like so excited to be there and wants to make all these flashy big moves for TV and all this stuff. But I don't think they necessarily like respect him in the same way that they do Savannah. Like I think Savannah is very good with her words. She's a newscaster. Like she is very good with just like explaining herself and how she comes across. She comes across very confident. And I think that that is more dangerous in a final three speeches Q&A scenario than
Mhm.
someone like Rizzo is, who I think just kind of like I think that he's the type of person who is just like very energetic and very, likable. But I don't know that the jury is going to look at him unless he, really makes like some big game move in the next couple of episodes. I just don't know, playing his idol at this point, like maybe it's more impressive if he doesn't have to play his idol. I think that's probably his big talking point if he can get through the whole season and say, I never have had to play my idol. Here it is. Like he still has it. Like that would be really impressive. But I think that as of right now, I do think that Savannah is the bigger threat here. My only fear with Savannah in the end, I fear that maybe the jury would be a little bit bitter against her just because it feels like a lot of the people who maybe like have had issues with Savannah, like Sage and Christina, like it feels a little more personal than gameplay. And that worries me that maybe they just wouldn't award her the $1 million out of some personal issues. I don't know.
Yeah, just for being petty, basically.
Yeah. Whereas like they
uh,
don't have that with Rizzo. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, Savannah, obviously, yeah, she's a great talker. And I feel like, yeah, Rizzo just doesn't have as much of that confidence as Savannah has, that the jury would then see Savannah as being a bigger threat there.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know. We will have to. I think we'll get a better sense probably after next episode, like when potentially like a lot of the trinkets and advantages and idols. Like I think that we might get one or more played this next episode. So I think that maybe we'll have a little bit of a better sense of what each of their resumes will be. So I think that, we'll come back around to this in a week and see how we're feeling.
Yes, for sure.
But we do get to the immunity challenge next. Steven wins, as we discussed. He also wins an Italian reward on the 1 year anniversary, of course, of Operation Italy. And he chooses Christina and Rizzo to join him on this reward. So while they are there, Rizzo tries to find a common enemy with Steven and Christina that they can all agree on voting for tonight. So his goal here is to protect his core three and not have to use his idol, ideally. If they can all come together with a common enemy, then the spotlight is off of him, Savannah, and Soph. So they land on Yellow Sophie, and it seems pretty easy to convince all of them to go for her. And then, back at camp, they kind of feel the same way. So were you surprised that Stephen and Christina were so willing to go for Yellow Sophie? Or did you still think, like, in this moment, like, okay, there may be like placating him, but they're still going to go for like Rizzo Savannah?
Yeah, I honestly, I kind of felt like they were gonna go for Yellow Sophie in this moment, just with how, like, I mean, also her edit. I guess in the beginning of the season, we knew like we didn't get that much of her, so I had a feeling, in a sense, that she wasn't gonna make it like all the way because I feel like we would have seen more of her in the beginning of the season. But in general, is what we see from the edit, also of like in this conversation, like it does kind of seem like they're totally agreeing. Which obviously sometimes you're like, okay, I'll give them my reaction just so they don't question it. But then when they were talking about it back at camp, that's when I was like, okay, like seems to be like they actually do want to go Yellow Sophie for this vote.
Yeah, I think that in this moment, I don't know that I fully believed them. Like I thought that they would still like want Rizzo to think that they were on board with this so that he would feel safe enough not to play his idol. And then I thought once they got back to camp, they would be like, okay, in that moment, maybe we wanted to do this, but like this is a perfect time to vote for Rizzo because we know how confident he is that he thinks we're on board for this plan, and he thinks this plan is a go. Let's use this as an opportunity to get Rizzo out, puts like the next highest amounts of votes on Sophie, so that if Rizzo does play his idol for whatever reason, if he does get wind that maybe things are awry, then the next Sophie will get the back end of that. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I really thought that that's what actually was going to happen, but clearly it did not.
Yep, that did not happen this week.
No, but back at camp, like we said, Yellow Sophie tries to get Soph and Sage on board to vote Savannah. Sage, however, now has her sights on getting revenge for Jawan and taking out Yellow Sophie. So she calls a truce with Savannah, a short lived one, I'm sure. But she agrees to make this happen, and everyone seems on board for this. It seemed very easy to make this happen, especially once Sophie and Soph had a conversation earlier, like we talked about, where they were saying, it's time to get out Savannah or Rizzo, and turning on them. And once they heard about that plan that Sophie was putting out there, then it was like, oh, she's turned on us. Like, actually, this is really easy because now it's like she's not an ally. Getting her out is the same as getting out Christina or Steven or Sage or whoever has been targeting them. Like now Sophie is wanting to do that too. So kind of everyone's a consensus. This is really easy.
Yeah, for sure. That's when it really solidified in my head. I was like, okay, yeah, if everyone kind of wanted to get her out, then this seems like this is going to happen. And I didn't think there was going to be an opportunity for them to go for anyone else. Really, like it seemed like, I mean, in general, like that just seemed like they had a common enemy and everyone agreed. So it made sense.
Yeah, okay, so this is where I think one of Sophie's other mistakes happened in this episode, where I think that talking to Soph so openly about her wanting to get out Savannah or Rizzo, I think was a big mistake because she knows how close Soph is with them. I think you have to wait until Soph brings it to you than to say it to bring it up to Soph because you don't know how ready she is to make that move quite yet. And this ended up, this may have still happened even if Rizzo and Savannah never got wind that Sophie was plotting against them. I think it makes it so much easier to go for her. Like I think that Sophie could have maybe convinced Rizzo and Savannah otherwise to still get on board for some other plan, or I don't know. I just think that it made the decision a whole lot easier to go after her once they got confirmation from Soph that Sophie was making this plan to get rid of one of them.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because once you hear your name from someone else's mouth, like just gotta go for that person.
Hmm. Yeah, like I think a lot of this with Sophie is like this still may have all happened this way, even if she'd made other choices. But I think she made it really easy for this to happen based on some of the choices that she made in this episode.
Agreed.
Well, then we get to tribal, and not too much happens here, really. There's a little moment between Christina and Savannah, although we found out on TikTok the other day that you sent this to me,
Yeah.
actually, that Savannah confirmed that this was all planned out beforehand with Christina, which I thought was very interesting because I honestly got zero sense of that by watching it. But it turns out that they had made this plan, which I'm not 100% sure I understand why they did it.
Yeah, I it just seems like they wanted to like make it so that I don't know, the rift that they were having was more fabricated there and that they wanted to just play on this hatred of like I don't know, just like
But
dislike of
why? Like
yeah,
Sophie was going home unanimously
yeah.
anyways.
I don't know. That's why in this moment it doesn't really make sense. Totally, maybe it's more for the jury to see and they wouldn't like expect for what was about to happen. I don't know.
Yeah, because like if I remember right, Savannah was kind of explaining that it was like to throw Sophie off the scent,
Yeah.
but it was a unanimous. But why does it matter if Sophie knows what's happening at tribal if it's a unanimous vote?
I don't
So
know, but it feels like Savannah just likes to make theatrics at the tribal councils at this point, so I think
yeah,
maybe it's just another thing of that.
I know. I love Savannah's like look at whoever's going home, like
Yeah,
just smiling. It's so evil, but I love it.
it's great.
But yeah, so unanimous. Yellow Sophie is unanimously voted out here and blindsided. She did not see it coming.
Yeah,
So we get a true blindside here with a unanimous vote at final seven. And now we are heading into the final six. We are really at the home stretch of Survivor 49.
I
So
know.
I'm excited. Look, like season had a slow start, but I think that it's really heating up here.
Agreed. I think as we're now getting close to the end, like every week is exciting and you never know what's going to happen, who's going to win immunities and who's going to get an advantage and is the advantage going to be used? Like there's all still have an idol and an knowledge power in play that we haven't seen. So that's
And
coming up.
then block a vote.
And a block of vote.
So
Yeah.
yeah, there's still plenty to see here that could happen. So it's kind of the opposite of 48 that started off so strong and then really petered out at the end. Survivor
Mhm.
49 is having a very upward trajectory, which I think is so much better for Survivor. Like any season of any show, I would much rather it have a slow start and an exciting end because that's what you're going to remember at the end of the day is how it ended, not how it started. So I think that if it continues in this trajectory, I think that we will leave Survivor 49 with a pretty positive feeling about it, rather than how we left Survivor 48, which was like, okay, good winner, but like kind of a boring season, which is wild when you think about the first like four episodes of that season.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm just rooting for Sophie at this point now that there's no more other yellow Sophie, blue Sophie. We're going to say Sophie
Yeah,
because
I don't know if they're gonna bring back Sophie or can stick with
well,
Soph in
I
terms of
saw
like
Sophie
officially.
B made a video on TikTok was like, "Now call me Sophie." Like I think she's tired of hearing her name Soph. So I think hopefully we'll see Sophie. But we'll have to see. Only on
Did
Wednesday
you
night we'll get
see
that.
that Yellow Sophie Segretti, said in one of her exit interviews that that both Sophies wanted to go by their last names, and that the
Oh.
producers wouldn't, or somebody unnamed on their season, a cast member, thought that the last names were too hard to say. Which, as a reminder, it's Sophie Segretti and Sophie Bellardi. Neither of those last names are hard to say, but somebody couldn't pronounce them correctly, and so then they couldn't do that. And then Jeff didn't want to do the blue and yellow thing, so then their only other thing was Soph and Sophie. So she was like, for those who don't like it, we tried two different things before that that didn't stick.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I mean, both their last names are three syllables, so like I guess it's just like more to say, but I don't know. That's interesting. I would have preferred their last name.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always get that with the men. Jeff will call them by their last name, but we very
Yeah.
rarely get that with the women. So I would have liked that a lot better, but you
Mhm.
know, it is what it is.
Yes.
But anyways, let's move on to Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, season 3. Molly, take it
Yes.
away.
Let's do it. Yeah, it was so exciting to see the season come out on Hulu, as obviously we were much awaiting this drop of the season, and I feel like it did not disappoint. Like we got a lot of drama throughout this season, and these ladies just keep giving us what we want, and it's great. Great TV for us, and even offline all the TikTok stuff that we get to see and Instagram stories and all that that's still happening. We'd get really insight into their lives, which is fun, and getting them be so honest on the show is really great because I feel like a lot of other reality shows, I feel like you don't get like this in depth in certain people's lives, and like they are really open with us, which is great to see. So I really enjoyed this season, and I obviously love these Mormon wives, so I was really happy to see it. What about you, Michael?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this season as well. I think that it really like shattered the fourth wall this season. I mean, from episode 1, we're getting them talking about, oh, Whitney left because she wanted a role on a scripted show and tickets to the Oscars, and Demi left because she wanted 3 times the salary of everyone else. Like they're just like so openly talking about being on a show and contract negotiations and pay and all this stuff that you don't ever get on most other similar shows like this. And I appreciate that because
Mhm.
I think that a lot of other shows probably would love to talk so openly about these things and they just aren't allowed to. And so then they have to like say it in weird ways why they're mad at each other, and it really doesn't make sense for the audience at home. And here it's like, oh no, we can actually fully just say exactly why we're upset with this person. And I think that it makes the cast lives a lot easier, I'm sure. And it also, I think, is really, I appreciate it because I want to know exactly like the real, true, honest feelings. And so yeah, I love that aspect of this season where that they did that more than ever. And I mean, there was a lot happening, and it was dark and deep at times, but I appreciate that they are so open with their lives and willing to just put it all out there, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and that's what we want from our reality stars. And I think that a lot of them really did that this season.
I agree. Yeah, we saw a lot of that, and I feel like in a way then it makes me sad sometimes to see like all the hate that they get because like they should be praised more for like the openness that they're sharing and not necessarily like, criticized like people do online, but people just always want to spin it in a negative way. It seems like on the internet and in general, but in like when I watch it, I'm like, wow, like obviously I don't want that to happen to me, but like I don't want to like immediately like judge someone based on what they're feeling or whatever like in certain situations. Obviously there's some that are more black and white than others, but I think in general like there's always more that's being shown to us also, and you have to remember that like this is a TV show. So we're not getting every single thing that is in their lives.
Yeah, I mean, this is why a lot of reality stars are hesitant to open up their lives as much as a lot of the wives have this season, because they are going to be ripped apart for it. And like, a lot of people aren't necessarily cut out for that. They're sensitive, and they're afraid that if I open up about the situation, that I'm not going to be believed. I'm going to be, blamed for it. I'm going to, whatever the case may be. And I think that it's tough, because a lot of fans just will never, no matter what you do, they're destined to not like you if you are maybe not best friends with their favorite. Like, it's just like, the audience is so fickle, is so like hypocritical, is so like, people just love to stand their favorite, and they will hate everybody else no matter what they do. And so I think a lot of people are like, well, then I'm not going to open up about anything, because I'm just going to get railroaded online, because you are obsessed with this person and they're not my best friend. And like, I think that I think you do have to appreciate and applaud the openness of a lot of these women.
Yes, 100% agree with that. But now, shall we get into more of the nitty gritties of what happened throughout the season?
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah, so we started out this season with an update on where the group stands, and Taylor is on a 2 week therapy retreat. Jen is still on her mental health break from the group, and Demi and Whitney both left the show due to contract negotiations. So it seemed like it started off with like kind of a smaller group, but then obviously we knew why that was happening. So I'm glad that they kind of explained that to us in the beginning. But what were your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, I wondered if, like, when the season started, obviously, I don't think they necessarily expected or knew if Demi or Whitney were going to film at all. And I wonder if they hadn't, like, whether we maybe would have gotten new girls joining the group, because it was so small. And then at a certain point, they were hopeful enough that Demi and Whitney would come back, that they were like, okay, we don't need to do that. Like, or maybe they would have waited until the following season and then added more girls. I don't know. I'm curious. I guess we'll never know. But it did feel like a very small group filming in the start, which was interesting.
Yeah, and maybe they did start film. I remember they started filming season 3 like pretty soon after um 2, so maybe there was
Yes.
partly with that they like there were just not as much time in between.
So, yeah, so season two, if you remember, ended with like a holiday party. So
Yeah.
it was around November, December that season two ended filming. And then I think season three started filming probably like February.
Yeah. It's only a few months.
So yeah, it was pretty quick that they stopped filming two and started filming three. So yeah, I mean, that's why you see, like, Jen's still on her mental health break. Like, things
Yeah.
that happened in season two are still very much like still relevant, still happening at the beginning of this season. So it was pretty quick.
Yeah. Which I mean it's good to see that continuation in their lives pretty much. So like which is nice too, but obviously then it made it so in the beginning we didn't get everyone as soon as we wanted. But then at the first group event, Layla talks with Jessie in the car outside to tell her about her meeting with Marciano, where he told her about their affair. And Jessie admits to the affair, but says that she and Jordan were separated and denies Marciano's claims that they had sex and that she claimed that they only kissed twice and that Jordan has known that for a long time or for the whole time. So, because we get off, obviously, the big cliffhanger of season 2 was hearing about this. Jesse having had sex with Marciano was what he claimed. And now, when Jesse finds this out, that she's like, this is not true at all. Like, he can't say this. So, starting off the season, like, started out hot. Like, you're like, whoa, what's happening here? But what were your thoughts on all that and the conversation with Layla in the car?
Yeah, I mean, this was a wild way to start the season. Like, I was like, oh, like I kind of knew that we were getting this because at the reunion last year, Jesse had said basically, like, yes, Jordan and I are having a hard moment. We'll get more into that season three. Like, with the questions that were being asked and what they could and couldn't talk about, you knew that this was coming. I just didn't expect that it would be within like the first 15 minutes of the premiere. Like that was crazy. So, yeah, that was quite a bomb to be dropped that she just very much openly admitted to it, which I respected because
Mhm.
I think that a lot of people would try to deny it first when they are first, like the bomb drops that they find out that this is being talked about. I think most people's first instinct would probably be to deny it and then go home. She'd go home to Jordan. They would, decide, are we going to admit to this? Are we not going to admit to this? And then the next time they see the group, maybe she'll say, okay, I felt I didn't have time to think about it. So I just kind of like, well, denied it, but it is true, blah, blah, blah. So, kudos to Jesse for being so open about it. I think she probably knew that this was coming. I think that whether she knew that in that moment it was coming, I think she had to have known, like, okay, this is probably going to come out. How are we going to handle this? And so she had like already come up with exactly, okay, we're gonna be open. We're gonna admit to it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the honesty too, and it's good that she's able to admit to that on camera. Obviously, that's probably not the most comfortable thing to do. And she's gotten a lot of like responses about it and everything. But I feel like a lot of people are more in support of Jesse and saying like, well, like kissing twice isn't really a whole affair. Like she's was making it out to seem a little bit more than it could have like been portrayed as if she had just, I mean, I think it just goes to show like how she grew up also like in the Mormon church, and that has like a stigma associated to anything like that you would like obviously not want to do. So I think that has a way in her recounting it too, and that like she has to be honest with how she went about it.
The one part that was confusing to me was that she said it was an emotional affair when they did
Yeah.
kiss. Like that is
Yeah.
more than an emotional affair.
That's true. It is more, but there was more. I think that was the part that hurt more for Jordan. So I think that was
Mhm.
what like they had to get over more, which is probably why she was sharing more. Like you're saying, it was emotional rather than just physical.
That's true. That probably like yeah, the main part of it was an emotional affair, and then
Yeah.
in addition to that, they kissed twice. But
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. That's probably like the harder part for Jordan to get past.
Yeah. But yeah, so we see that happening, which was an interesting way to start the season for sure. But then also we see Layla invited Chase, Miranda's ex-husband, to her birthday party. And this upsets Macy and Michaela since Chase had talked negatively about them on his podcast, and they find him to be toxic. And Layla, then they confront Layla at the party for not giving them a heads up about him coming. But Layla doesn't think it's that big of a deal and that they need to get over it. That they all later apologize then later on to Michaela or at Michaela's birthday party. But yeah, that was interesting how they got so mad about just Chase being there. But what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, like, I understood what they were upset with him being there because clearly, like, the Halloween party that he was last at with the group
Mhm.
did not go well. And some of the clips we saw of things he was saying, like, about Macy in particular and, like, her ex husband committing suicide, like, that was kind of gross.
Yeah.
So I could understand Macy in particular being upset about him being there. I do think that they probably overreacted to it just because, like, it's a big party. Like, you can avoid and maybe afterwards talk to Layla. I don't think like them necessarily like at Layla's birthday party getting to a fight with Layla about it.
Yeah.
That was a little bit maybe overreaction, not the best place and time to be doing that. But I think like at the next event where they see her, like, or maybe like go to lunch with Layla and say like, hey. didn't love this. Maybe next time can you give us a heads up? Like Chase has said all this thing. Maybe you didn't know or didn't remember all the things he said, but like this is, what he said about me. Like I don't want to see the guy. So, next time you're planning on inviting him somewhere, can you let us know so that we can make a decision then about whether we want to be there or not?
Yeah, I agree. And I think just Layla didn't know the extent of it too. So it's like, well, she didn't really understand then why they'd be so upset. So it was kind of a misunderstanding there. And obviously then they all apologized later. So I think it's okay in the end, but like could have gone about in a different way.
Yeah, because like Layla can invite whoever she wants to her birthday party, and especially like we know later that she ends up dating his brother. Like clearly they're close, and it's
I
Miranda's
mean,
ex
they used to
husband. Like
date.
right, exactly. So like he's not just some random person with a podcast. Like he is associated, tied into their group. So like I don't know that they have necessarily a right to like demand that she doesn't invite him, but I think that they're right that maybe Layla should have given them a heads up, but maybe like you said she didn't know the extent of what he was saying, so then just, I think they are well within their rights to say, okay, well then in the future, if you're planning to invite him to something, just let us know.
Yeah. Agreed. So then Macy and Michaela meet up with Marciano to get to the bottom of the truth of what happened with both Demi and Jesse. So it's like Macy and Michaela on a journey, like to go. It was funny that they were just like, we're gonna go interview Marciano.
Yeah.
But then he says
Detective
that
work.
what?
Doing some detective work. Nancy Drew's over there.
Exactly. It was fun to see them do this. Because then, well, when they meet with him, he says that he and Demi did kiss in the villa, but that it was all off camera. And then he also admits that he and Jesse did not sleep together, and that he was previously being influenced by Demi to lie about that. So we get some tea by having Macy and Michaela go and meet Marciano here, but what were your thoughts overall? Like, there's obviously a lot that came out of this.
Yeah. So this kind of I get why they wanted to talk to him, of course. I will say, like, I just think that someone like Marciano, it's almost pointless to talk with him because it's like he is so has no credibility at this point. Like, okay, like so either he was lying before or he's lying now. He's being influenced by Demi or he's being influenced by Jesse. Like, it's like I just don't know that like you're going to get anywhere because he's just going to kind of say whatever he feels like is going to benefit him most in that moment. Like I don't feel like when I saw this I was like, "Aha, now he's telling the truth." Like I was like, okay, like now who is he closer to, Jesse or Demi? Who is he fighting with? Like it's just it's going to depend on that what he's going to say. Like I don't know. I just like I understand it. I understand that, they want to now believe because they are close with Jesse and they're not getting along with Demi. So like they're going to believe him now versus how they don't believe that Jesse is in his ear telling him what to say, whereas they do believe Demi would do that.
Mhm.
And so I get it, but I just don't feel like I had any more clarity from this.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it kind of just let us see what Marciano would say. In a way, it's more just like,
Mhm.
okay, like what is he gonna say now? And then hearing him like talking to Macy and Michaela, I guess I mean, also on camera, so he's gonna portray what he wants to for his self image. I mean, at this point, I don't think there's any going up from it's like he's already down in the deep. Like there's not much else he can do at this
Mhm.
point for people to like be on his side, it seems like. So anything he's gonna say, it's just like, all right, let's just get some more information from him, I guess.
Yeah, and I do think it is worth it now that I kind of am thinking about it in my head. Like it is worth it to get him on camera saying that he lied before and saying
Yeah.
like both sides now. So it's like, okay, now you can't go back from this. Like it
Mhm.
is on camera. you said one thing and now you're saying another. Like you are admitting to either lying before or, you're lying now. Like either way, at some point you lied and that is on camera and there is no debate about it.
Yeah, for sure. So it was good to have that as like a, all right, now you told us your lies, so what's the
Mhm.
truth for real? But then Jesse and Marciano, then they decide to take a lie detector test because we want to be able to prove what's happened. Have they slept together or not? And they had a one-on-one conversation before taking the test, and then she also invites him to then their group dinner afterwards while they wait for the results. So the girls were confused why she would want to continue spending time with him, and Jordan also gets angry with Jesse when he finds out about this. So, what were your thoughts on here having the lie detector test and then Jesse inviting him to dinner?
Okay, I hate lie detector tests on reality shows just in general, to be honest. Like, we've seen this so many times. Most recently, we saw it on Orange County Housewives with Katie. This one felt a little bit more legit to me because they didn't want to be on camera. Whereas, like, there's this one company that, like, is all over reality TV and online that does lie detector tests, like, on camera for all these different shows, and they're like known, it's on their website that they will do like they would do real lie detector tests, and then they also do like acting lie detector tests, so it's like you never know like
Oh,
if what
wow.
you're watching, what package was paid for.
Yeah.
And it's always, kind of very suspiciously like goes in the direction that they kind of want it to on the show. Like it's very weird and I never believe it and it's just a waste of time. This one though did feel more legit to me because they didn't want to be on camera. Like that to me shows like, okay, this is a legit lie detector test company. And also it took time to get the results, whereas on the other company that is on all these other shows, like has the results like immediately. It seems like, and so it just feels like how do you like a legit lie detector that I don't know, there's like lots of things that felt more professional about this one to me. So like I did, and also the results didn't necessarily like benefit
No.
Jesse and Marciano completely, but like they weren't also like totally against them, so it felt like it was kind of somewhere in the middle, like a gray area for the most part, which like actually again felt more legit to me because if for dramatic effect you would want it to be like, oh, they're completely lying or they're completely telling the truth. So like it felt like it was kind of in that weird gray area where we didn't necessarily get full clarity on a lot, that made it feel more legitimate to me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that does make sense. I hadn't made that comparison to other shows because I haven't seen all of the other lie detector tests out there that I'm sure you have with all the Bravo shows that I
But
haven't
it's
caught up
also
with.
not just Bravo. Like this company, like you will see them pop up on every random thing. It's the same older guy. Like it's
Wait, were
very
they in The
weird.
Bachelor?
Probably.
Yeah, I feel like I remember seeing it on one of the seasons of
I'm
Bachelor.
sure it was. I would have to go back. I don't remember there being a lie detector test on The Bachelor, but if it was
Yeah.
on camera, it's probably this company.
Yeah. Okay. That
Because they're
that
one of the
makes sense.
very few that will be on camera, which is why all these shows do go with them, because like very few lie detector test companies are willing to be on camera.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. But I like this one. It did seem like it was more real, and that the tests were actual results. And so we got those results to show that Jesse and Marciano did not have sex. So can put that to a close. That lie detector test, this is what's right. But then also some of those results, as we were saying, did come back as inconclusive, which could mean that maybe there was some wishy-washy parts of it, but overall, we knew they didn't have sex.
Yeah. Also, sorry, I wanted to also talk about the him coming, Marciano coming to dinner and
Oh,
everything.
yes.
Uh I do think that's weird. I like okay. Here's what I'll say. I think we've seen scenes with Jesse and Jordan before this that showed that their relationship was very much like not in a good place. The way that we've seen him speak to her, the way she's talked about the fact that he's spoken to her, awful. And it does put into perspective, like, why Jesse would want to have an affair, to be with somebody,
Yeah.
and like, it wasn't clearly a healthy relationship that they were in at that time. And I don't fault her for that, because clearly she's been in an abusive relationship in the past. It seems like her relationship with Jordan was getting worse and worse and getting to that point. And so it's hard to, like, be on Jordan's side with any of this, because with the way that we know he's been treating her, of course she wants to get out. I think, though, it seems like Jesse is at this point trying to make her relationship with Jordan work. If that is the goal, if she wants her relationship with Jordan to work, she should not be spending any time with Marciano. Like, especially one-on-one time in her hotel room, or in his hotel room, whatever it was. And then inviting him to dinner afterwards. It's like, okay, if your goal is to get back with Jordan, this isn't the way to do it.
No, for sure. And it reminds me of just like thinking about how like in a situation I was in the past, like if I had an ex reach out to me and like want to talk to me, like just like maybe in a friendly way or just whatever, like you don't want to, if you're in a new relationship, you don't want to respond to that because then it's like maybe keeping that door open
Yeah.
that it's not respectful for your current partner to like feel that way that you go about like still talking to an ex situationship whatever it is like someone you had an affair with like even worse like that's just like not a great feeling for Jordan especially there so I understand like his being upset with that but then also with Jesse it seems like she's still trying to just get some closure from it all I think in a way too and now having this on the show like I think a big part of it too was probably the show so it's just like there's parts of it that she couldn't totally control in that way that like I don't totally fault her for that but like it is still like a tricky situation to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the show encourages, they wanted Marciano to, like, be in a room with all the girls and for the results to be read with everybody there together. I'm sure that part, yes. But I think that Jesse probably could have said, like, I'm not comfortable having a one-on-one with Marciano. Like, I think
Yeah.
if it had just been the group dinner, I think, yeah, I don't know how Jordan would have reacted, but I think that it would have been a lot easier for Jesse to defend and explain that, look, this was all for the lie detector test. They wanted us all to be together in a room to read the results. I think it's a lot harder to explain having a one-on-one with Marciano. Like, I
Yeah.
think that's probably the bigger issue, that she could have probably said to producers, like, look, we can have Marciano come to all the group stuff. Like, we can be, like, in a group together. I don't. I'm trying to work with on my relationship with Jordan. I don't think having a one-on-one with him is in the cards.
Yeah, for sure. I totally see that too. So let's move on to Jen, though, because we see Jen come back with the group and she has a conversation with Jesse. And Jesse apologizes for how she treated Jen and that said she was projecting as she was having issues with Jordan, being emotionally abusive with her at home, and that she felt like, as she saw it was happening with her and Jen, it just was triggering her a bit. But then they hugged and agreed to move on. So that is nice to see them make up here because obviously don't want to have too much drama about everyone in the group.
Yeah, I liked this, because to me, this is the difference between Jesse and Demi, and just in general, is that I feel like Demi really never truly seems to apologize or, like, move on, like, especially with Jen. Like, to me, we see later on in the season, like, it's still fully like, no, Jen treated me terribly, Jen did all this stuff to me, and it's like, you watched season 2. Like, I don't know, it's hard. Like, whereas Jessie, it feels like, watched herself back on season 2, and or at least, like, over time, like, has gotten a different perspective, knowing what Jen was going through at the time, and everything. I don't know if they had seen season 2 yet at this point, but it seemed like Jesse is willing to self-reflect and say, "Look, I don't like the way that I treated you. I apologize." And this felt very genuine to me. And she was
Yeah.
able to like explain, "Look, I was going through stuff with Jordan. Like, hey, I appreciated the way that Jesse handled this because it's like, okay, let's move on. Let's move forward. Like, I don't want you to feel like you can't trust me and trust the group and everything." And it seemed like generally appreciated that, and she felt a lot more welcome in the group and included than she had when she left. And so, I just wish that Demi would kind of do that same thing, and it just feels like Demi is maybe a little bit stuck in the past, whereas Jesse is willing to move forward.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like she wants to learn from her mistakes more than just resent things and just keep them in the past and like keep them in the present from the past versus like
Mhm.
Jesse's just moving on and able to process things I think better than Demi has, and that's been a hindrance on Demi and the friendships she's not being able to reform. But then we also get an exciting announcement that Taylor says that one of them will be casted on Dancing with the Stars for the upcoming season. And most of them want to interview for it, but Jen is the most excited as it has been a lifelong dream for hers. And then this news also brings Whitney back to the show because she wants to be on Dancing with the Stars as well. So the only reason why she came back was to be in the running for Dancing with the Stars. And we obviously just finished Dancing with the Stars, so we know who made it onto the cast. But it was fun to see this back and like to see how they actually had an interview. Like I thought they wouldn't have actually had like a formal like interview thing. I was like,
Oh,
oh, they just
really?
well, I thought they were just like making that up in a way. Like I was like, oh, like they're just gonna say they're interviewing, but like they're not actually. Like they actually went through all the interviews, which was interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I didn't realize that they were necessarily like in-person interviews.
Oh,
Like I guess I kind of figured like, oh, they talk with the producers and casting and everything like over
that's what.
Zoom. And maybe they normally do that because it was being filmed for the show, it's better for it to be in person. So maybe that's why they did it in person, and also they were like, they were already there for other things, so like it just made sense that they could do it. But yeah, I so with the Whitney of it all, this clearly, potentially impacted Whitney's fate on Dancing with the Stars. Like this
Yeah.
storyline impacted because the season came out the week before Whitney was eliminated, right before the finals. And a lot of people think that, maybe fans of Secret Lives of Mormon Wives saw this season, saw how Whitney was very openly only doing it, coming back on the show for Dancing with the Stars, and they wanted to spite her and didn't vote for her because of that. Maybe people who were voting for her in the past. So I don't know. I'll be totally honest here. I didn't have a problem with it because I think that if let's say Whitney came back around this time for Dancing with the Stars and was just like, "Oh my god, I am here for the sisterhood of it all. I love you girls, like I'm so sorry for everything that happened." We would all be calling complete BS on that. We would say, "Just be honest.
Yeah.
Just say you're here to be because you want to be on Dancing with the Stars. You're here to, look whatever." And I appreciate like feels like what we always ask for from people is like, be honest. Like, we'll deal with it, but it's like the BS, just like we would have felt it. And so I just appreciate her honesty. Look, I think you can have a problem with her, like coming back at all, and maybe you feel like that is desperate or whatever, but like I appreciated it.
I agree. I liked Whitney being just so straight up about it all. And obviously, like, we know her background also having dance experience, and she just loves dancing. And that it would have been seeming to be so fake if she hadn't just admitted that, is why she came back. And so I appreciated that. And I felt bad for her that it ended up maybe being the factor into why she didn't make it to the finale night. But I mean, obviously now she's going to be on Broadway as Roxy in Chicago. So I think she's won in what she's gotten wanted for herself, and like very happy for her. She got what she wanted and she knew how to get there. So she's just a businesswoman trying to get her to her dreams.
Yeah, no, you have to respect it. I mean, look, it worked clearly, and yeah, I mean, I don't think many people would be as honest and open about that as she was, and yeah, I appreciated it.
Yeah. So it was interesting though to see how everyone else then reacted, was like, oh, now she's back because of Dancing with the Stars. So it's still like the we know why, but it's like it's interesting to see
Yeah, and let
how.
me be clear. I get why the girls would be upset with her. Like,
Yeah.
like I'm not saying that the girls should just accept that and like clearly she's being clear with them that she doesn't want to be necessarily friends with them, and I think they have every right to then not want her around either, because clearly like that this is all fake. Like she has no desire to be friends with them. So I get why the girls would be upset about it, and I don't begrudge them at all for that, but I
Yeah.
think as fans, I appreciate the honesty as well.
Yes, for sure. It's much different as the fan versus in the
Correct.
actual cast with her.
Right. Exactly.
But then Michaela reveals on a different note, more sad here, that she and Jace were struggling in their marriage due to Michaela having intimacy issues stemming from her past sexual abuse, which we saw that last season as well, her going through therapy herself. But now her and Jace go to couples therapy to work through this together, which I appreciated seeing just how vulnerable Michaela was with us on camera, and having Jace there as well. And I feel like we haven't really seen as much of him as we did this season. So he really had more of a role in like, or we had to hear more of his voice in all of this as well. And I thought he also handled it well in going to therapy with Michaela and able to work through things that she's obviously had from her past that hasn't fully been able to been processed. So I think that's been good for the both of them and their marriage.
Yeah, this was really sad. I mean, because clearly Michaela is struggling and working through a lot and trying to work through trauma from her past. And I appreciate Jace and her being willing to go to couples therapy and deal with this and be so open about it and their struggles and Jace being honest, like, look, this isn't easy to deal with this. Like, he wants to be supportive of her, but it's not easy for him also to have to deal with all of this. And so I appreciated all of that. It's hard for me to fully forget how they met, and Jace's the age difference when he got her pregnant. She was allegedly 16 and he was allegedly 21. Um, so there's something there that I don't love and that feels really, really icky. And that's, I don't know. It's hard to know, like, is that part of her trauma as well? And I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much on that, but it's kind of hard to like not think about that when you're watching them in therapy and everything. I don't know. That's a little tricky, but putting that aside for a second, I guess I did appreciate their openness with all of this.
Yeah, for sure. I did see people saying that on TikTok as well about the age difference there. So I don't know how that plays into it all. But I think in general, like what Michaela has been going through is stuff that was before Jace. So it's all just that trauma of her sexual abuse that she experienced as a young girl and then also young when she was a teenager as well. But yeah, it's obviously not easy. And hearing those topics also being discussed, like you don't always get to see that in reality TV. So it's good that she's also bringing awareness to that and showing women that they can speak up and talk about it, because it's also very stigmatized in that regard as well. And like people just don't want to share because of the reactions people will share against you versus the guys. So, or whoever's doing the abuse. So yeah, it's a deep, dark part of the season that we get from Michaela and Jace. But switching gears again back to Whitney, because she reunites with the girls at Miranda's birthday party, and they all feel that Whitney is only transactional with them, as we were saying, with her being honest about Dancing with the Stars, and that she leaves as soon as she gets what she wants. But Whitney says that the vote that they had last season, where she was voted back into Mom Talk, didn't feel sincere, and that she didn't feel welcome in the group. But that is why she left the group and that hasn't been around. So it's kind of just like everyone's going back and forth here. But the girls also question their friendship with Demi, and that she admits to them that she's only there for Dancing with the Stars and not for the sisterhood, or for the not for the sisterhood of all of the Mormon wives. So, what is your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard with Whitney because it's like, okay, she's always kind of in and out, not coming to things, coming back, and it's like, I feel like most of the girls don't hate Whitney. They just don't know if she wants to be there. Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of my take on it is like, okay, we'll like vote you back in, but like, are you even gonna come to anything? Like, it's like, are you just gonna keep coming and going and coming and going and be really inconsistent and then feel hurt when you're not included and invited to things, but then like you weren't coming before that, and it's like, so it feels kind of like, and I get the girl's feeling that she'll only be there when it benefits her, and
Mhm.
then when she doesn't need or want anything from them, then she leaves, and then as soon as she wants something like Dancing with the Stars again, she comes back. So it's like, I can completely understand the girls feeling some type of way about like bringing her back into the group when that's been the history that they've seen. I also, understand they're questioning her friendship with Demi. That it's like, okay, it's really convenient that the two of you who had all these issues before are now suddenly the two that are kind of like ostracized, and now you're best friends. And it's like, I also don't. I understand them feeling like it's not a genuine friendship there. So yeah, I understand kind of, I guess, their all their feelings about it.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Just so like, because we obviously we know also how when he's being, it's good that she's being upfront with them. As we were discussing, that it's like the honesty is good in a way, but then it also makes it then have a sting in those girls' mouths of like, okay, well, she really only is here because she wants to get this next step in her career. So do we trust her? It's kind of hard, but they don't like hate her because she hasn't really done anything that wrong to them. It's more just like John being wishy, or she's just more wishy washy and showing up and all that. So it's interesting to see them react to Whitney being back. But then the girls, including Demi and Whitney, go to LA for a Hulu event and Stagecoach. So here we got some not people not really being included, but now they're showing up. So it's interesting to see that. And also during the trip, Jesse and Demi sit down together for a one-on-one chat, and Jesse reveals that Marciano sent her screenshots of his conversations with Demi, including a photo Demi sent him of her daughter. And then Jessie asks why she would do that if she felt he assaulted her, and that she says, and then Demi says that she didn't know how to handle the situation, and that wanted to keep him close because she was afraid of him spinning the situation. So there's a lot to unpack on this as well. But what were your thoughts on the LA trip?
Yeah, so this sit down specifically with Demi and Whitney, or sorry, with Demi and Jesse, I, it's tricky. This is a very tricky situation, I will say. I I understand Demi wanting to keep Marciano close, I guess, because she was afraid of if he felt betrayed by her or felt, that she wronged him, then he would go and, say they hooked up, say, he could say whatever. And I understand her wanting to avoid that happening. Where I understand the girls questioning that is because I can see where they feel like they believe that this happened to me. Like, I don't think anyone is questioning, like, did he touch her? Did they have some sort of thing? I think that what they question is, was she perfectly fine with it at the time and, in fact, egging it on and fully, supporting it? And then as soon as she felt like that, Jesse was saying things about it, or that, this could benefit her to kind of be a victim in the situation, then all of a sudden she turns it into this whole other thing that it really wasn't. And, then suddenly it's this whole, assault. It's assault. And it's so tricky because it's like, you don't want to question her. You want to support somebody who says that this happened to them. But I think when you start to hear and see things that really put that into question, eh, it's really tricky. It's really, really
Yeah.
tricky. And I don't want to say that I don't believe it, or that I, think those things that I guess I said, just a few moments ago. I think it's just, I don't know. It's really tricky. What are your feelings about it? Let me like think about it in my
Yeah.
own mind for a
No,
second.
I totally get what you're saying. I feel like, yeah, it's hard because throughout the season also we haven't really seen a ton of Demi, and like it seems like when she's around, like she just doesn't get along with anyone. So then it also makes it seem like is everyone just like attacking her for no reason, or like they just don't want to be around her. So then like having her then opening up about the sit down conversation, like it's like sad in a way, but it's also like, well, what's like, is she in a way also fabricating certain parts of the story to make it like in certain ways that I don't know. There's just stuff that we might not see that could give us some more clarity too, or we haven't really heard about what everything that went down is. Like I feel like we get a lot of like surface level of what's going on for the like what was happening with Demi and Marciano, not necessarily like obviously there's probably much more. We saw text messages, like but like she's saying that these were for also for fun. So I don't know. Like those are interesting to hear about. But for this conversation about her saying how he thought that he assaulted her, like that's not good, obviously, feeling that way. And I want to believe her in that as well. That's how it was. So it's a tricky situation here for sure.
Yeah, I think that where it becomes tricky is like you see the proof. You see the texts of them
Yeah.
going back and forth and her being very a willing participant in the flirtation going on. But then the question is, okay, what was the motive behind that? Like,
Yeah.
is she telling the truth in saying that she always felt that way, that he assaulted her, but she was just keeping him in a friendly situation so that he wouldn't go and say that all this happened and try to spin it in a way that made her look worse. I don't know. I guess we'll just never know is really the
Yeah.
answer. I will never know because she's never going to admit if she, w- didn't feel that way, and we're never gonna have any other proof because this was all off camera.
Yeah. No,
Now
that's what that's
everybody, I feel like it's hard because it's like everybody who was there is saying one thing, and Demi is the only one with her story, and
yeah.
but it's like you can't question how somebody feel. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's what's hard because like we hear so much of what everyone else is believing is to be true, and then we hear Demi's side of the story, which isn't what we're hearing from everyone else. So it's interesting there, but I don't know. Yeah, we just we just won't get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
Uh, but well, maybe
But
eventually. But for
whatever
now,
happened, I just want to, I want to be very clear, like, any sort of unwanted touch that even if Demi was open to certain flirtations and was not okay with him touching her, then it's not okay.
yeah,
Like it's whatever she felt comfortable with is all that should have happened. And, bottom line.
100%. But changing gears here a little bit, at Stagecoach, Taylor gets upset when she sees Dakota talking to another girl. But then that night, they end up sleeping together and are flirty together the rest of the trip. So Taylor and Dakota hook up, and then after they're back in Utah, Taylor finds out that during one of their separations, Dakota exchanged flirty messages with one of Leanne, her mother's friends. And then they had plans to meet up in person, but he backed out for when he was talking to Leanne's friend. So nothing actually happened there, but still not a good situation after Taylor was just in such a happy mood with him. So, what are your thoughts? I know obviously there's a lot with Taylor and Dakota always. So, what do you
Yeah.
think about this?
This was crazy because it's like, okay, this is Leanne's friend. Like, how
Yeah.
old is this girl?
Well, they have their kids when they're like 20.
I know.
But
I guess there's not that big of an age difference between them, but like, it's kind of crazy to me that, like, I guess this is kind of like just a family friend in general, and like, somebody who's close with both Taylor and Leanne. So I don't know. That was wild, but yeah, it seems like, I don't know, to me this doesn't seem like that big of a deal on Dakota's part. Like it feels like more of a betrayal with Leanne's friend,
yeah,
who like seemingly is the one who kind of initiated this, and then like Dakota kind of felt like it was friendly, and then at a certain point it turned flirtatious. So like Dakota and Taylor were separated at this time. So like I don't know that like Dakota is the one most in the wrong here. I feel like mostly like the friend is the one who kind of seemingly like really betrayed the family.
yeah.
Um but in saying that, Dakota also, probably should have known like this is not like, yes, he backed out before anything happened, but to even get as far as it did with the flirty messages, probably Dakota should have backed off at a certain point because of who it was.
Yeah, definitely. It's like a weird, like if Dakota wanted to talk to someone, like just don't go to Taylor's family friend,
Right.
like, and it wasn't really him doing that though. It seemed like she was reaching out to him, so it wasn't necessarily on him, but still, and he didn't want to be like mean, I guess, and not responding. I don't know. It seems like Dakota means well, even if it's something
Hmm.
that he's doing that's really stupid. Like he doesn't necessarily like mean for the harm to happen is my take on it. Like I think he's just not always aware in certain situations, which I mean like 99% of them it seems like at this point, but in general like it just seems that they're overall Taylor and Dakota are not meant to be in like this little blip of the good moment they spent together at Stagecoach, then quickly was turned upside down. It was fun, not fun, but like it was interesting to see how the edit was portraying this because like they were starting to do like some like spookier music, like hearing like that they were gonna have this conversation. It was interesting how they played that out. But I obviously feel bad for Taylor here and just general. It's not great to feel that way, especially with it being your you have him as a dad to one of your kids. So like she's now has to deal with him forever. So I think that's another part of it that's really hard is that they have a kid together.
Yeah, and like it sucks because clearly they were in a really, really good place, it seemed like, until this came out. And so it's like, oh God, like, of course, as soon as we're really happy, this bomb has to drop. And
Yeah.
now this changes everything. So, like, I don't know that this should have like completely been like, I guess though it was like it's a buildup. Like this is like the last straw type of thing. So I guess I understand it. It just really didn't feel like it's like okay, this wasn't like this was something that happened a while ago. So it's like it
Mhm.
seemed like, right? Like this was when
Yeah.
they were like separated a while ago. So it's like
Mhm.
kind of crazy that now this comes out like so much later when
Yeah.
you're in a good place and now it's like, ugh, like this thing that happened way back that we should have dealt with, months and months ago, now we have to deal with now so much later when we're in a good spot. So yeah, you do feel for Taylor in this situation for sure.
Yeah. But we know now she's bachelorette, so she's on to better
Yeah.
things.
I wonder
um,
if Dakota will pop up on there.
uh, he's gonna have to. I feel like it's just like they can't have it without him showing up.
Yeah, I agree. I think he will.
Yes. But then Whitney and Macy stage an intervention for the group, and the girls each take turns standing in front of the group apologizing for the things that they've done to hurt each other. And Demi tells everyone her side of the Marciano story, and then she and Jesse apologize to each other and hug. So, what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this was a necessary group event. You don't want things to get too toxic on these shows. And I think oftentimes we see this on Housewives all the time, where like the group gets more and more divided and the feelings get more and more hurt and things just get more toxic as time goes on because things build up, more and more happens, and it's like you fall out with more and more people, and then you can't trust anybody, and it's like there's no healing after a certain point. So I think like you could start to feel that this group was dividing in that way, and I think that an event like this is a good way to hopefully put things a little bit back together where now you can go into season 4 a little bit more fresh, a little bit more of a clean slate. And, let's have new things happen. And let's not just continue to fight over the same things and let things fester and just, the divide grows and grows and grows. So I liked it. I think that it felt genuine on most of their parts. These apologies, you could see like Whitney and Michaela finally mending fences here. Like,
Mhm.
there were certain people with issues, more than just Jesse and Demi, that you could see seemingly got a little bit of progress made from this. So I think it was a success.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's good to at least like air things out too. And for this group, like just being honest and open with each other is the biggest thing for them. So I think with that, like they're able to talk about a lot and apologize for where they've done wrong. And I think that's really admirable for them and just moving forward and hopefully having less like toxicity within it because like you never want to have that as a show. But then Taylor meets up with Jace for a quote unquote date. And Chase apologizes to Taylor for how he talked to her at last year's Halloween party, and that he admits that he has feelings for Taylor. And then the season ends on whether or not they will kiss and explore dating. So, what were your thoughts on this cliffhanger and the fake date this was?
Ugh, yeah. Not every season needs to end on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
I just think this felt so, I don't know, this felt so forced and fake, honestly, to me. Like,
Mhm.
I don't believe that they're going to date. I don't believe that like they're, anything real legit is going to happen between the two of them. Like, it just felt like, okay, we could have just ended on this positive
I know.
note from earlier. And like, we just didn't need this. Like, I think it's, if every season ends on a cliffhanger, no season ends on a cliffhanger, if that makes sense. Like make it a special thing. We don't always need this. So I yeah, I don't know. I would have preferred without it.
Same. I agree, and especially now with what we know about Taylor being Bachelorette, like obviously this wasn't gonna be a thing at all. I
Right.
mean, even if we didn't know about Bachelorette, I think we still wouldn't have believed it. But like knowing about Bachelorette, like even just more so solidified that in our heads. Um,
Exactly.
but and like they knew that when this would air everyone would know, so I think it just like wasn't necessary for them to keep that in either. And then I mean he shows up also at the reunion and kind of talks about it, which I don't think that was necessary either. So I think it was all just a why is Chase getting screen time here. But
Yeah.
that was my thoughts and all of that. But I love
No, I
Taylor,
agree.
so happy for her for Bachelorette because that's really exciting. So I'm hoping that she can find love and not deal with these Utah toxicity that she's been having. So we'll see what happens there. But also, we had the reunion, which kind of, as we were talking about, just didn't really hit as much as we wanted to. Maybe we didn't get any new information that was shared that we didn't. We already had all the stuff basically from the season. So what were your thoughts, and do you think that what could have been improved upon in
Yeah,
this
this
reunion?
reunion was bizarre, is the
Yeah.
word that I would use to describe it. Like, it felt when it ended, I was like, wait, what did I just watch? Like, I think that it could have just used 20 more minutes with just the girls. Like, I think
Mhm.
if they had just spent, like, 15, 20 extra minutes just like to let the girls hash out things and discuss more of what happened in the season, and like just let it breathe a little bit. Like, it felt like half of the reunion was just the dad talk and Dakota and Taylor's mom and like all this stuff. Like, I don't need any of that when your whole reunion is an hour.
Yeah.
Like I could get that being a segment. I could understand that being like, a 20-minute segment of a 3-part reunion or something, but like a 1-part 1 hour reunion, no, we just need time with the girls. We don't need any. Let the husbands come out for the last, I don't know, quarter of it or something, but like let's give enough time just for the girls to talk about what their season. And it just didn't feel like we got it felt so rushed, and I don't know why, because it's on Hulu.
Yeah, I know. I'm surprised it was only an hour because, I mean,
Yeah,
our episodes were about an hour long. In a reunion, you would expect to be more than what a normal episode is.
right.
So I agree that we didn't really get what we wanted to out of this reunion, and they're just all the dad talk stuff was like just not really needed in my
And
opinion
the
as well.
sponsorship
Yeah.
and the, like, weird, I don't know. And I think that they need to film the reunions before they start filming the upcoming season,
Yeah.
because I want things to be exactly where they were at the end of the season. Like, I want them to be able to fully, openly talk about where they stand with each other and things that happen without feeling like, oh no, if I talk about this, it's going to spoil the upcoming season that we're filming right now. Like, that to me is like, no, I don't care if this has to be filmed a month or two earlier than it normally would be. I just want it to be fully this season, and all the relationships to be where they were this season. And then you start filming the next one, and then film the reunion for the next one, so on and so forth. Like, I
Yeah.
just think that is a much better way to do it, where they might be able to open up more and talk about more without it being a spoiler.
Yeah, no, totally. So Hulu, if you're listening,
They're
that's
not.
that's our advice.
But
But
maybe the negative reaction overall to this reunion will get them to maybe go back to the drawing board a bit.
yeah, for sure. Any other thoughts on the season as a whole as we wrap up season three?
No, I think, yeah, besides the reunion, it was a very good season. And I am very excited for season 4, that I would think would probably come out before Bachelorette. So I think it should be like not too much longer. So I'm excited for it.
Yes, I can't wait. And obviously all the drama that unfolds on social media. I hope we get some Fruit Loops in season four. We'll see.
Yeah,
With
no Fruity Pebbles
oh,
mention here,
oh,
but
the Fruity Pebbles. Sorry.
I am excited. I am sure that will be a big topic in season 4.
Yeah, yeah, the Fruity Pebbles. I got the wrong cereal in my head. But that wraps us up for this week. Thanks. We might have also spoiler, a special episode dropping. So stay tuned for that. But so make sure you are subscribed to make sure you see who that person is, what the episode will
Or maybe
be.
it's a robot.
Yeah, we don't know. But you can find us everywhere at Let's Chat Reality on all socials as well. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll chat with y'all again shortly.
Bye, everyone.